your job.
Put the gun down before you kill someone.
Teenage Girl's Diary.
Hello and welcome to another Dollar Store Drive-In. I'm your host, Laura.
I'm Joel.
And we're the Newly Dads.
We are.
Yes. If this is your first time watching us or listening to us, welcome. This is a half-hour chat show where we discuss a movie that we've watched. Primarily, we found this movie in the wild usually, but sometimes things are gifted to us and whatnot. But this criteria for the movie that we watch usually needs to be under $5. It needs to be a horror, thriller, or sci-fi genre movie, and it needs to be a movie that neither of us have ever watched before. So if this is not your first time watching, welcome back. We appreciate you coming on back and supporting us. This is something that we record out of our house, so we are not in a special studio or anything like that. We just have a little studio set up in our living room. So if you are listening to this, this is a visual show. So you will see things like dogs kind of periodically walking around. Mr. Newly Dead does a lot of visual edits on the show. Sometimes he does captions on things and editor notes and all sorts of fun stuff. So we do recommend that you come and watch it, and you can find that information at our website, which is thenewlydeads.com. You can find information about our show, where all the different locations and channels that you can find it on. We do have a YouTube channel as well, where you can find information or watch things about unboxing. Mr. Newly Dead does collect a lot of physical media, so he likes to do unboxings with some of the goodies that he gets around the world, around the globe. A lot of it is horror movie themed or sci-fi, I guess, themed movies and things of that nature. So check that out. And occasionally we do coffee reviews. I do a blog post for that called Coffinated. And then I also do blog posts about small businesses. It doesn't necessarily need to be local, but a lot of it is focused around the Rockford, Illinois area because that's where we're located. Mr. Newly Dead also does reviews on different movies and things like that on a blog post as well. So we also have events on there. So we do have an event that's coming up not until October 2025. That is the Witches Market. That is put on by our favorite people on the planet, the Wolves of Wolf Hollow. So you can find out information about that event. And then we do have an event for us that's coming up because we're going to be celebrating our 100th episode. I cannot believe we've been doing this show that long.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. But, so that I forgot to push that. So yeah, almost 2 years we've been doing this, and the Wolves have graciously opened their doors to allow us to be able to show a movie to a live audience. We're not going to be doing our show live. But we are going to be experiencing, I just remember Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. All right. So if you're interested in that, check out our website. You can find all the details. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. So you can find us on those kind of platforms as well. Mr. Newly Dead is very active on Facebook. So that's where you can find a lot of information about all the things that we share. So that being said, we're here to discuss a movie that we've watched. And so this week, we've watched a movie called The Booth. It is a Tartan Asian Extreme movie. And so I'm going to read the synopsis about it. Synopsis. And then we'll watch the trailer and get into the movie. So let's see. Okay, it's a long enough synopsis that I guess I don't have to read all of the little things. But Todd David Schwartz from CBS said it was creepy beyond measure. So I'm guessing you found this at like the dollar store or something like that,
yep,
right?
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree, y'all. Dollar Tree, y'all. So it does fit our criteria. Okay. Shogo is an arrogant and condescending star of a popular call-in radio show. While his new studio is being remodeled, he must temporarily broadcast out of Studio 6, a creepy and dilapidated booth abandoned since its DJ committed suicide. Suddenly, he begins receiving disturbing calls. The voices on the line whisper liar over and over. Has someone discovered the truth about his sinister past, or has the curse of Studio 6 been unleashed again? Interesting. So, yeah. I'm excited to get into this movie to see what you thought about it, because we don't really discuss anything until the show.
Mm-mm.
So
Nope.
that way
very
it's
little discussion.
fresh conversation.
So I don't know what she thinks. She doesn't know what I think. We're finding out when you find out.
Yeah.
Unless you go to my Letterboxd account, then you'll already know what I thought
Right.
about it. But
Oh yeah, he does have a Letterboxd account too.
But
So if you want to follow him on there, you can see all of the movie reviews that he's done. You've probably done a lot.
I did my first full year on there this last year, and
Has it been a
2025
year
was my
already?
second year of doing Letterboxd. Every
Wow.
single movie we watch, I Letterboxd it.
That's good. So you've probably watched a lot.
It keeps track. It's kind of fun.
Did you even do the one we watched last night?
Yep.
Oh,
I do them as soon as we're done. That's the
You're
first thing I
fast.
do. Well, I mean, they're only like one sentence reviews for the
you're
most
like
part.
poop. All of it is poop.
I have said that before.
The movies we watched last night weren't. They were not for the show. They were for entertainment.
In personal
purposes.
enjoyment.
Personal enjoyment.
We enjoyed both of them.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely liked them.
Look for reviews on our website coming soon.
Yay! Oh, you review them too?
Yep.
Like longer on the. See, I don't even know what he does. Like he does all these like things, and I'm just sitting here trying to exist.
Sometimes I'll review these movies too, not as often. But if you want to get my in-depth thoughts about some of the things we watch on the show, there are some that are on the Newly Dead's website that I have done, but typically there's stuff that is like last night, the two movies we watched, Apartment 7A and Abigail. Those reviews will be coming soon,
Yeah.
potentially.
Yes. All right. So let's watch the trailer. This week, the trailer is just a microphone.
Of course it is.
if
Why not?
It's a DJ call-in show or whatever. Maybe a microphone with like a telephone or something. I don't know. Like chasing. Can you do like a little microphone with like a chasing? Like a train? Just a whole bunch of them.
A whole bunch of what?
Microphones and phones chasing each other.
Oh,
We'll see. I was trying to make it difficult for him because, he likes a challenge. All right. Well, we're going to pause here. We'll let you watch the trailer and see what you think about it. We'll see if he's doctored any of the trailer, because sometimes he likes to throw fart noises and other odds and ends in there. And then we will come back and talk about it. So we'll be right back.
聞いた話ですけどね、開局当時男性アナウンサーが自殺したらしいんです。そのブースの中で。
嘘つき。
はい。もしもし。
交通にも影響が出ており、鉄道では最大で6時間の遅れが。
何やってんだよ。慎吾さん、今日行きますよ。慎吾さん。どこ？そのスピーカー誰が探してんだよ。誰だあんた。
嘘ばっかりついて。
And we're back. Thank you very much for watching that trailer. And so now Mr. Newly Dead has some notes. And I actually took notes this time too, because that is my New Year's resolution, to take notes at every single movie. And I think it kind of helps me stay awake.
yeah. I mean, she's done good so far. I mean, that's not.
I'm
our
like,
only New Year's
I don't know,
resolution.
4 for 4 or 5 for 5. I don't know how many we're in right now, but I think it's been 4.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Well, it's
It
January.
must be,
It's
yeah,
the fourth
'cause
week of
January,
January.
4th,
So,
that
yep.
makes sense. It's not our only New Year's resolutions, by the way, but
Yeah.
it is one of them.
It's mine for the show.
So for the episode, I take notes to give us a guideline as far as kind of what we watched, especially since we watch this on Tuesday and now it is Saturday.
Yes.
So to make sure we kind of remember what happened. Sometimes she's way better at it than I am most of the time, I should say. But anyway, I also draw pictures, which incidentally, if you'd like to check out 2023 and 2024's flip books of all of my notes that I've taken with all of my thoughts, information about the films, as well as drawings that I do. Those are available on our website as well. Miss Newlywed puts them together into a little flippy book, so go check those out. Anyway, this week I drew...
An axolotl?
Yep, because there's the axolotl over there on the case. I don't
What
know
is
what's
that guy?
going on there.
Like a weird hippo devil?
It's like a hippo devil demon. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just started drawing shapes and it just kind of came out. And
Cute.
yeah, then the axolotl thing that's like the one that's over there.
Yeah.
So.
Very cute. I like it.
Did you draw anything?
I did. I drew, because they were talking about poisoned words and stuff like that. So I drew a dude with some big lips that say poisoned words or whatever. My words are dangerous.
Oh, his words are dangerous.
And then I drew, because I've been practicing drawing. I've been taking this Mark Kistler 30 days to draw better kind of thing. So I drew a little wave, a box, and then I drew this week I was drawing like waving flags or whatever. So it says the booth on it.
The booth. That makes me think of everything growing in that weird thing you showed me last night. That weird optical illusion thing.
Oh, yeah.
Weird.
Yep.
I'd put it here, but I don't know where to find it, and I don't want to make you all experience that. Anyway, so the booth right here from 2005. That sounded weird. 2005. I was going to say, it's so used to saying 2025 these days.
Yeah.
Or 2024. It's 2005. So
2005.
20 years ago,
Aughts.
this film was made.
The aughts.
The aughts.
It was in
I
the
even
aughts.
say that. Ugh.
Yeah.
20 years ago. That's nuts.
2005.
Nuts.
It's 20 years
How's
ago.
it 2 decades ago that this film was made? Anyway,
Boggles
so
the mind.
it bottles the mind. It's literally mind bottling. So this was directed by Yoshihiro Nakamura, and it was written by that person as well. So I included films on both sides of it. So for directorial, and I forgot to indicate if they wrote and directed both. So we're just gonna have to assume that the first ones are all directed and the second ones are written by, but I don't think that's accurate. Miracle Apples. Thought that just sounded like a interesting title. Fish Story. That's Jack's life story.
Starfish.
A Boy and His Samurai. Those are the 3 that I had for his directorial credits. And writing credits, you may remember this one because I think you said you did not care for it. The original Dark Water.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've seen the original and the remake.
The remake sucked. I
The
hated it.
story that it's based on is interesting. There's a whole documentary about it, and it is fascinating and terrifying at the same time and interesting. I liked the original, I think, better than the remake. The remake, I don't know, with Jennifer Connelly was kind of hit and miss.
I didn't like it.
The 47 Ronin in Debt, which 47 Ronin, you may
Hmm.
have heard of that story,
I
but
have.
the fact that they're in debt, I don't know why. And Doing Time. Doing Time. So this stars Ryuta Sato, who was in Bento Harassment, which whenever I hear the word bento, I think of a bento box.
Mm.
So I don't know if like somebody like is harassing somebody with a bento box.
Mm.
I don't know how that happens. Slapstick Brothers, sounds like a Sam Raimi joint. And My Loser Husband.
You're not a loser.
This also stars Meiko Asano, who is in. I have a thing about, and I've drawn a blank on the director's name. The guy is notorious in Japan for making very gory, kind of lower budget-y films. And I've seen a lot of them because I went through a phase where I was watching a lot of Category 3 films. Anyway, she was in Tokyo Gore Police, which if you've never seen it, it is crazy.
Sounds fun.
They were in Shudder, the original Shudder, which I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you've seen. And Dark Water.
Yep.
Just to bring that back up again. And then also the stars Makoto Ashikawa, who was in Ju-on the Curse 1 and 2,
Mm-hmm.
which are all on the shelf over there.
Mm-hmm.
Violent Cop, which is a Takeshi Kitano film, which Takeshi Kitano beat Takeshi, as he's known. Love that guy. And another beat Takeshi's films, The Blind Swordsman, Zaltuchi, which that is a kind of legendary Japanese figure that there's a whole series of films about. This was his kind of remake of it, and I believe it's a Takeshi Miike film. I'm not 100% sure. I think so. And he was in, or she was in, I don't know if it's she or he, I don't remember. Takeshi's, which is Takeshi Kitano made a movie called Takeshi's. Anyway, so at this point, my wife turns to me and says,
Oh, what'd you think?
and I really should pay more attention to who's who, because I don't remember who all these characters are.
That's okay.
Anyway, so it opens with a scene of this suicide, which there's a great shot from inside outside the booth, looking in the booth, that you see the person swinging back and forth. And I made a prediction last week, if you watch that episode, that the film was going to open with the suicide.
Yep.
I was right. And I predicted how it was going to end. And I was,
Pretty right.
believe, pretty close to being right. I think there was one slight thing that changed, but for the most part, I was like 95% correct. That just proves that either A, it's very formulaic, or B, we've seen way too many horror movies that it's just, we know what's going to happen now.
Maybe a little both.
Or, yeah, it's a little bit of both. Or, it could just be that it's just, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I know that. But I felt like there was a good cinematography. It was a very kinetic film. It kind of kept moving forward, even though there was points where, it maybe got a little slow, but not for very long.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, it kept moving you forward. So basically, it's about as she said in the synopsis, a younger radio personality who's been on the air for a little while, who moves into a temporary booth while they're remodeling his booth.
He's kind of a douchebag.
He's kind of a D-bag where...
That's what I wrote down that I did not like. Shingo's a douchebag.
He is kind of, yeah.
That's the point, though.
It kind of moves the story forward, because if he wasn't, then it would be a little less...
Yeah.
He's
a douchebag, and he acts like he's, like, not a douchebag. Like
he's a nice guy.
Yeah, So the whole reason that they're talking is because, so in the present time, not in the, past or whatever. Right. So they're talking, he's a call-in DJ. So, you call into his radio show or whatever. And, he had a theme for that show, and it was, poisoned words or unpardonable words is like the other word that they've used it a couple times. So like, what unpardonable words have people said to you that made you upset? And so, when somebody asks that kind of thing, he's like, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. Like, I couldn't believe somebody would say something like that to you. So, he's acting like he's this nice guy kind of thing, and like trying to help people in the call-in show, when really he's, kind of a despicable kind of person. Yeah, shooty person. A poopy person.
He's done a lot of sketch things, and is trying to pretend like they didn't happen. Because somebody does start calling in and calling him a liar, because the original death that happened in the studio was like a long time. They still had rotary phones, and it was a hot minute ago. I don't know if it was in the 50s or not, but I
don't think it was that long ago. It looked like maybe the 70s or something like that.
It had been a while.
Even the 80s maybe.
And so, there's the rotary phone that's still in there, and in the little closet thing that they've got and stuff. And it's not really been updated much. It's a kind of a neat atmosphere for the movie. But the biggest thing that I had with this film, that I don't know if it wasn't originally intended as such, but it felt very much like it was like an episode of either a horror TV show, or like if you've seen like the Masters of Horror series, or like a Creep Show episode. Mm-hmm. It felt like an encapsulated, like the Into the Dark stuff that they did on Hulu felt a little bit more like an actual movie, whereas this felt like, I don't know, it felt like very episodic.
Yeah, like a short film kind of thing.
And I feel like you probably could have made it into an hour-long show, and it would have been a little bit tighter.
Yeah. Maybe even more scarier.
Yeah, it felt like they were kind of padding the runtime. There's lots of very strange hard cut flashbacks. That's
what I put down that I didn't like. Weird hard transitions to flashbacks.
Yeah, it was strange, because if you're into editing at all, there is ways to do it that is softer and that feels more natural, or even kind of makes sense. When you think about, if you go back and you think about something that happened in the past, you don't just suddenly like, I don't know if there's like that kind of Wayne's World thing going on, but it just was very like, it was abrupt and kind of jarring.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they edited, I don't know why that was. And I thought it was funny and kind of dated it. I said 2005 for the win, because when they were doing the call-in show, think Loveline with music breaks. He's like, call in with your unpardonable words, or fax us.
Yeah. Well, and then like randomly, we started watching the little documentary thing or whatever about it, like the behind the scenes kind of interview, remember,
yeah.
on stage. And he talked about why he liked the fax thing because he said when he was a kid, and when I say he, I'm talking about the main character or whatever. They were interviewing him on stage with the director.
Yeah.
And so he said, when I was a kid, I loved call-in shows. They were huge where he was at. And so he said that, back in the day, though, they used to fax in questions or like fax in things. And so, like, if they read your, fax on the air, it was like a big deal or whatever. And he ended up winning like passes to like Disney or something like that.
Yeah, he got a pretty good price for it.
Yeah, like a year-long pass or whatever to Disney where he can just keep going to Disney all year or whatever. But so I think that that's like a cultural thing, like
Maybe.
the faxing.
I don't remember that being a thing on like when Loveline was big.
Yeah,
people just called in.
Yeah,
So
when he's saying that they're faxing, I think it's probably more of like a Japanese cultural kind of radio show kind of like thing. I feel like it's definitely like a commentary on technology a little bit. How technology can be haunted. Right. So we've seen a lot of those kind of things, like with one missed call and like the computers and stuff coming alive, and or like people like doing stuff that's like bad through the internet and stuff like that.
Sorry, I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Those kind of movies.
That's way back, but then you made me think of One Missed Call, another Takeshi Miike film.
Yeah.
Also, the entire trilogy is on the shelf.
Yeah, I liked One Missed Call.
I know you did.
Yeah, I liked the
That
ringtone. Yeah, I had it as my ringtone for a while, which is kind of creepy. But like the ring, things like that, Ringu, and I feel like this is like one of those kind of. They were trying to get that technology, even older technology, can sometimes come back to bite you or whatever, and be haunted.
Well, fax kills more trees than anything. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm sure it didn't help, but so people keep calling in because he keeps getting these calls that keep going back to calling him a liar, and it's at first it's the one person, the woman that's calling in, that it kind of goes with, but then it starts to bleed over into some of the other calls, or and he slowly starts to kind of lose it. He kind of gets more unhinged as the thing goes on.
Yeah, because he's not thinking that these people are calling in talking about him with his poisoned words.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, like, and I don't know if it's like a psychological thing, like where he is starting to relate what these callers are saying to stuff that he's done, or if the callers are actually calling in targeting him. You know what I mean? Because like, is it a psychological thing? Because it's like you say something like maybe you called somebody a name or something like that when you were a kid, because a lot of the stuff happened when he was little.
Yeah.
This guy told me I was ugly or whatever. Well, I've been called names before, or I've been, harassed and like, been abused like verbally or whatever. So maybe if somebody that had done that in the past, where they're like, oh, was that me? And they start like thinking about themselves, because, that's the whole thing, right? People are all people are kind of selfish. Everybody always looks at themselves and like through their own eyes and through their own lens, and everybody thinks everything's always about them, kind of thing. So it's like, was it all about him? And then or was he like, remembering these things that he did when he was younger, right?
Well, and they kind of start giving you hints that it's kind of extending to the people within the room, because you've got like the producer that's in there with him that keeps going like this, and he always talks with his hand in front of his mouth, and we're like, what is that about?
And I was like, is that like a cultural thing? It's like a normal thing? And then we finally realized that no, like the main character had said that he had bad breath, and like somebody had called in and said, my coworker told me I had bad breath.
Which
then
the guy realizes that they're kind of all related, and that they all kind of tie to people within the booth with him that are running the show, whether it's his producer or his
and he starts
sound
getting
guy.
Really paranoid.
Yeah.
To like so paranoid that he doesn't want to leave the booth and ends up pissing his pants.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He kept drinking water, and they're like, and so then we started to wonder, is the entity trying to get him to do the same thing that happened to the original host? is he already dead and he's in
Yeah.
like purgatory or
Did you
hell?
say that why the entity, like why the guy like committed suicide, or not committed suicide, but died by suicide in the beginning?
No.
Yeah. So like, that's part of it, right? Like he kept getting these phone calls. It's the same kind of thing. He was getting these phone
right.
calls.
Yep.
And she was saying that, I died by suicide. We had a pact and you didn't do it, and why didn't you do it? That kind of thing. So
He's
he
getting
was getting
harassed.
these like haunted phone calls or whatever that haunted him, and then he ended up hanging himself in the booth. So like it's kind of happening all over again. And so it's like, that the people that are in the room aren't calling him because obviously they're like talking
You
to him.
can
One
see
guy
him.
was sitting there with him.
Yeah.
So is it random people that are just calling in, or is it,
Is it
a haunted
spirit,
entity, right?
or is he, like I said, already dead? And it's just like he's
Mm,
trapped in this kind of place where he's forced to relive all this stuff and realize that he was kind of a bad guy, and it all kind of ties together in the end. But you do kind of start to question kind of what's real. We're kind of got in the weeds a little bit, and then there's a lot of twists and turns, and you think it's this person that's maybe the one that's behind it, or this person, and then come to find out at the end, without spoilers here, that I still don't totally understand exactly who was the person on the phone at the end, because there was that last shot of
yeah.
kind of what I assume is the entity, and it's like,
Yeah.
where'd you come from? Who are you? It was very kind of ambiguous, and then cut to the credits with the Japanese ska music. 2005 kids.
Yeah.
If you lived through it, you remember it. Third wave ska. But yeah, it was like, okay, I'm a little lost.
Yeah.
So
what are your final thoughts on it?
I mean, it had potential. I feel like it could have been trimmed down to be just like an hour-long episode of a show of some sort. There was too much kind of left up in the air, and kind of, like I said, ambiguous is the best word for it, that I wish there was a little more of a definition of kind of what was happening. I'm okay with ambiguous endings, but this felt a little too, again, kind of the hard cut situation just felt a little too left turn to be enjoyable.
I felt like it was creepy at times. It wasn't scary, that I didn't feel like it was, I mean, horror movies aren't always scary, right? There's horror elements to it.
Takes a lot to scare us anyway.
Yeah, which it does take a lot to scare us. It did have a decent pace. I didn't feel like it was like too slow. It kept my attention. I thought it was a weird concept, which I put underneath the like and don't like, because I kind of like weird concepts of movies. Having a haunted booth is kind of odd, but yeah. So my final review is the booth keeps you on your toes, guessing about what the heck is going on.
So are we at the point where we can?
Yeah.
So out of what?
Out of 5 landlines.
Oh, you already got it. You had it ready, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I'm gonna nail it this time.
Yep.
So, like I said, it has its problems, but it's not without its merit. So I wouldn't say don't watch it. It's a good way to kill an hour and 20 minutes or whatever the runtime was. But ultimately, I gave it a 2 out of 5.
I gave it a 2 also.
Yeah. It didn't.
I didn't hate it.
I don't know that I needed to see it again.
No, but
the Tartan Asian Extreme stuff is kind of hit and miss, and some of it has a lot of really good things going for it, but then either falls short or there's elements that just kind of, you're like, I don't know that.
Yeah. If you're into, Japanese horror and stuff like that, especially like the technology kind of stuff, you might dig it.
And if you like the early 2000s,
yes,
which those films are finally starting to kind of come around again and kind of get treated as though, like
they
you look at the stuff
horrible
in the 70s and the 80s and you're like, look back at it fondly as being, whatever.
It's nostalgia.
Cultish or whatever. Yeah. They're starting to do that with the 2000s.
Yeah.
And the late 90s. So
great. So if they don't want to watch this movie, which I'm going to blow up, what should they watch?
So I tried to think of movies that had a killer ghost that also involved a radio station, and I couldn't really come up with the one that I really could recommend or that I thought was a good analog. So I went with one that involved a radio station with DJs and bad things happening, but the plot is very different. So I went with 2012's The Lords of Salem, which is about 3 radio DJs that Jeff Daniel Phillips, Ken Furry, and Sherry Moon Zombie who are at a radio station. They get a record randomly dropped off that they don't know where it came from by the Lords of Salem. They play it, and it turns out that it is it's a bad thing. Let's put it that way.
Don't tell, yeah, because I haven't seen it
So
yet. So
that leads to a whole string of things that are awful and gross and terrifying. And it's kind of Rob Zombie's take on almost a giallo style, like the Italian horror, I guess is probably the better, because it's not really a giallo. It's not a black glove
Yeah.
killer. There's not a lot of eroticism. It's more just the way it's shot. It's like if Dario Argento made this film. I don't want to give anything away because there are some things you just need to see. But there's some points in it that are pretty scary, and there's that are creepy, and then there's a lot of really, really cool cinematography. It's a very slow burn though. So anyway, there you go. All right. Next week.
Yep.
Straight from the Dollar Tree.
The Haunting of Molly Bannister. Oh,
From 2019.
probably going to be dumb. I have done Unspeakable Things, it says on the top.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Are you Molly Bannister?
No, Molly Bannister did.
Oh.
It's a killer combination of Carrie meets Child's Play.
It's also known as the Bannister House or something like that. If you see the poster that I put up, it says a different name on it. But anyway,
Okay.
it's got multiple names.
After the death of their eldest sister, the women of the Bannister family begin to feel that something is very wrong. Trapped inside the house feels menacing. The younger sister, Molly, is getting sick. There are strange noises in the night and a constant feeling that they are being watched. What is wrong with Molly, and why does her doll seem to appear everywhere they go? More importantly, will anyone be able to get out of the house alive?
I mean, I think I saw that on Lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've had a lot of haunting of somethings from the Dollar Tree buys, and so far, like the haunting in Texas and the haunting of
Yes.
Whaley House or something like that. I don't know.
Haunting
There's
of
a bunch.
everybody.
Yeah, everybody was haunted, and so far, none of them have been all that great. So I already know what it's rated because I already wrote my notes for next week. But
Yep.
I'll let you find out for yourself.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much again for watching. Be looking out for some changes that are going to be happening after our 100th episode. So, stay tuned.
Big
And
things are happening at the Newly Dead studio.
They are. And then until next week,
Keep it cheap and creepy.
bye.
Go look after your mother and sister. Where are you going?
I'm gonna finish this. Goodbye, Tom.
And so you just stay alert, do your work, don't worry about the world going by. It doesn't mean that you can sit around and not do anything. You've got to get your butt in gear and do it. And don't take no for an answer. Translate those ideas to cinema or to a painting or to whatever. And figure out a way to get it done.